What's up, guys? Johnny on the track, back with another video. Busy day for me. We've got best bets, drivers to watch for, which is what you're listening to right now. I'm recording this. It's going to drop Tuesday, August 29th. Going to drop that. And then I'm recording later tonight, dropping Wednesday, August 30th, a playoff preview and playoff prediction show. So make sure you tune into that. That'll just be exclusive on the YouTube. That's Johnny on the Track on YouTube. If you're listening to the best bets, right now, obviously that's in partnership with the NASCAR betting preview show. Shout out those guys and what they're doing. So you could listen, obviously, on YouTube, Johnny on the Track on YouTube, or through the NASCAR betting preview show podcast feed. However you're listening, however you're watching, I appreciate it. But make sure, like I said, you also tune into the playoff prediction show. Going to go through all of our picks round by round. And then, of course, we'll have our championship and Final Four predictions, which I'm excited about. Got some special guests on that. So yeah, just stay tuned. But with that, let's get into now one of the best events in all of NASCAR, the Southern 500 at Darlington. Like I said, I mean, one of the best races, I think, in my opinion. I feel like it always puts on a good show. The crowd shows up, and it can be a wild card. I mean, we've seen Eric Jones win this thing twice. So it sure can be a wild card, but I don't know. I'm feeling one of the playoff guys is going to take this. So with that, let's get right into it. Couple bets here. I'm going to start with one that is a huge, huge underdog this weekend. And bear with me for a sec. I'm trying to plug this back in so I can assure that my laptop is charging. I don't know if it is, but whatever. We're going to continue with it. All right, huge underdog, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. First of all, he's plus 300 for a top 10, which I think you definitely should take, but also plus 10,000 to win this thing. Now, am I going like out right now and saying Ricky Stenhouse is going to finish in victory lane? Probably not. But I'll tell you this. He was the 9th fastest car at Darlington earlier this year. He is in the playoffs, so he should have some support now from Chevy, and maybe, that team takes that next step. But this is a great track for him. He's had success here. Like I said, the 9th fastest car earlier this year at this track. Wasn't great late in a run, but did show speed. I mean, early in the race, I've got from lap 73 to 146, he was the 5th fastest car in terms of green flag speed. The first run, 1 to 73, he was the 8th fastest car. So he showed speed early in this race, tailed off a little bit. But again, I mean, you look at this guy and I say to myself, he definitely should be able to lock in a top 10. And if things go crazy at the end here and he's just in position, I mean, you never know. You never know. We take it to Eric Jones last year. I mean, he was just right place, right time, and was able to to outduel Denny Hamlin with a good run. I think there was like 20 laps to go when they restarted, and he got out front. He had that clean air, and he outdueled Denny Hamlin. So you never know. And I think, a guy like Ricky Stenhouse is a perfect guy to win as a huge underdog at a track like this. And just real quick, those stats brought to you by iFantasyRace.com. Ryan on iFantasy Race. If you're looking for stats in terms of like green flag speed, late in a run, just everything, Ryan does an amazing job. I know I've plugged him before, but iFantasyRace.com. This would help you for betting. It'll help you for DraftKings lineups, daily fantasy stuff, just regular fantasy lineups that you might do with your friends. So, I mean, this guy has it all. iFantasyRace.com. Thanks, Ryan. As always, appreciate it. All right, so that's the big underdog I got. Then now let's go to the guys that I think are just nice, clean guys that you want on your betting card. We'll do them together here. Martin Truex Jr. plus 500 to win, and Kyle Larson plus 600 to win. Um, Truex should have won this race last year. Probably should have won this race earlier this year. He's been a machine on inter. He's been a machine everywhere, but truly a machine. And Joe Gibbs Racing has been a machine. Man, I'm using that word quite a bit, but they've been fast on intermediate tracks. And Truex Jr. I believe, is the favorite to win this week. Let me just make sure it's not Denny Hamlin. Denny, yeah. So Denny Hamlin is plus 550, is it? Well, maybe he's 750. Yeah, 750. Excuse me. Plus 750 is Hamlin, but Truex is the favorite at plus 500. I expect that 19 team to be super fast. I think he should win one of these first three races, get an even bigger points cushion on most of the field. I think he rolls through these first two rounds, and to me, he is. I know I haven't done it yet, but he is my championship favorite at the moment. Truex has been lights out on a lot of different tracks, road courses, intermediates, shorter tracks. He's been really, really good. So Truex, and then Kyle Larson. And the funny thing about Kyle Larson, as good as he has been at Darlington, plenty of top fives, he's never won at Darlington in Cup. So I think there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't need it, but he will be running Xfinity for extra seat time. Again, he doesn't need that, but he will be doing it, so he'll get a feel for the track. Cars obviously run and drive a lot different. I understand that. But again, I think probably right. There's a little bit of how do I don't know. He'll be motivated. Look, right? Like I assume he'll probably be a top 3 car in that Xfinity race, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wins that thing. And at that point, he'll probably want to sweep the weekend at Darlington, winning both Xfinity and Cup. So I like Larson plus 600. We know what he can do here. He's never won. So I think, like I said, a little bit of chip on the shoulder. In terms of stats, he was the second fastest driver late in a run, which might be important here. That's kind of what I'm leaning on. And then late in the actual race, he was, in fact, the fastest car. So that 5 team is going to be really, really good. And let's not forget here, only two Hendrick Motorsports cars are in the playoffs for the drivers side, right? Obviously, Chase Elliott is in for the owners, but in terms of the drivers, right, for these guys to win a championship, it's only Larson and it's only Byron. So I assume they'll be getting most of the support these next however many weeks until we get to that Final Four. So I expect Larson to have a good car. I think Byron's going to have a good car as well. Leaving him off the card as of now. But as always, Johnny on the Track on Action Network for all my bets, at JOTT_podcast on Twitter for that stuff as well. So we got Larson, we got Truex. We went over Stenhouse for both the top 10 and a big underdog to win. And then I've got Harvick plus 1,600. Had him here earlier this year at Darlington, finished second. He was the fastest driver late in a run, had a chance on the restart to beat Byron, but just couldn't really cut it. I think if this race goes a long green flag run late, I like Harvick. I think Harvick could be one of those cars in it. And look, if he finds a way to get out front, clean air is going to be king. It is tough to pass at Darlington. It's a skinny racetrack. It is a wheelman's track, if you will. So I look at Harvick and I say he's a wheelman. This is his final Southern 500. And I think he'll have the car, the only Stewart-Haas Ford to get into the playoffs. So I think there's a lot riding on Harvick right now for Stewart-Haas Racing and for Ford in general. I know Ford has a lot of guys in the playoffs, but Penske hasn't really been good this year. The king of the Fords, right? Quite frankly, it's been RFK. And Harvick, I think, has been right below RFK. I mean, Logano's only got 1 win. It's a super speedway, and Blaney has only 1 win. It's the Coke 600. I think from start to this race in the year, Harvick's been the third best Ford. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but I look at Harvick and I think he's been the third best Ford. So I like Harvick this weekend. I think he's going to have a really, really strong run. Two top tens I'll add. Eric Jones. This is his event. This is his race. He's won the thing twice. I know he wasn't fast earlier this year here, but quite frankly, I don't care. I think he just loves this event. They've improved this season dramatically from race one to where we are now. They are a lame duck team, if you will, on the way out, joining Toyota. But that really hasn't stopped results recently. Eric Jones has had a good past month and a half. He's had good results. So I think Eric Jones brings a fast car. I don't love the number at plus 110. But I mean, I think, with who knows, maybe he'll qualify bad. Let's say he qualifies like 25th. Maybe those odds will shift. You'll get it closer to plus 300. I think if you really find it at that number, you have to take it. But Eric Jones, very, very strong at this track. And then you got to look at Michael McDowell for a top 10, plus 300. Had a DNF here earlier in the year, wasn't very fast, but both Darlington races last year, he had top 10s. I think this team is building. They're getting better where they were at Darlington earlier this year. I feel like they are not the same team. I think they've made major strides as a team and as an organization. The fact that they're in the playoffs is amazing. And here's the thing with McDowell. Here's what he needs to get into his head in this team. Just have a clean race. Do not make stupid mistakes. This is 500 miles on an intermediate track. Just play the race safe, and I think you'll have a good run to get points and help advance yourself into the next round of the playoff. People are acting like I've seen people very low on Stenhouse and McDowell, and I understand with Stenhouse he only really had the one win, but like Michael McDowell had a win and 2 stage wins. So it's not like he's like, just either pointed his way into the playoffs and doesn't have any playoff points, or just, won a race and hasn't won a super speedway race and didn't show speed at all. Like Michael McDowell has shown speed at a lot of different racetracks this season. And it's kind of surprising me that people are so low on him, to just get knocked out early in the first round of the playoffs. But last year, 7th at Darlington, at the first Darlington race, and then 6th at the second Darlington race. And the intermediates here, I'm looking, right, they haven't been great. 26th at Kansas, 28th at Charlotte, 28th at Nashville, which is a little bit different. 25th at Vegas. But again, I mean, a lot of those were a lot earlier in the season. Since Gateway, okay, Michael McDowell has 9th, 7th, 4th, 13th, 19th, 1st, 13th. Those are some of the results since Gateway for Michael McDowell. This team completely turned it around from that race. And, I look at Michael McDowell and I don't see him being a lock to just get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. And a lot of that with me is a race like this, where I think if he can just run clean, he'll have that top 10 potential. So those are the bets. Again, Truex, Larson, Harvick to win, the huge underdog bet on Stenhouse, as well as a top 10 on Stenhouse, and then 2 top 10s with McDowell and Eric Jones. As always, right? Johnny on the Track on Action Network for anything post-practice, post-qualifying. Same thing at JOTT_podcast on Twitter. If you're listening via the podcast, I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and vice versa. If you're on YouTube, definitely for the podcast. And if you're a first-time viewer in general, definitely subscribe. I appreciate you watching. And like this video. I want to hear what you guys think. Always put your thoughts in the comments. And that's about it. Let's have a great Southern 500 and excited for the playoffs. Thanks, guys.